He was the most dangerous man in the city, untouchable, unbreakable. Until the day he came home early and found her standing in his penthouse, the woman who disappeared 8 years ago without a word. But she wasn't alone. 2 7-year-old faces stared up at him with eyes that mirrored his own. She took everything when she left. His heart, his future, and twins he never knew existed. Now he'll learn why she ran, why she hid them, and why some secrets are more dangerous than any empire. Hello, everyone. I'm back with another unforgettable Afro-Korean love story. Before we begin, if you're enjoying these emotional journeys, please subscribe and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support means everything. Now let's dive into a story about secrets, family, and a love that refused to die. The penthouse was supposed to be empty. Jinwoo's day had unraveled in the kind of chaos that made men disappear. A shipment intercepted, loyalty questioned, blood promised, but not yet spilled. He'd left the meeting early, his silence doing more damage than any threat he could voice. His second-in-command would handle it. He always did. The elevator climbed 43 floors in perfect quiet. Jinwoo loosened his tie, felt the weight of his gun against his ribs, a reminder of what he was, what he'd always be. At 32, he'd stopped pretending the empire wouldn't consume him. It already had. The doors opened to his private floor. He heard it before he saw anything, a child's laughter. High and bright and impossibly out of place in a world built on silence and fear. Jinwoo's hand moved to his weapon on instinct. No one had access to this floor. No one. He moved through the foyer like smoke, every muscle coiled. The laughter came from the living room, along with a voice he'd spent 8 years trying to forget. Careful, baby. Don't climb on that. His heart stopped, then detonated. She stood with her back to him, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating her in gold. Her hair was longer now, natural curls cascading down her back, in a way that made his fingers remember their texture. She wore simple jeans and a white shirt, so out of place among his steel and leather furniture that she looked like a dream bleeding into his waking life. Amara. The name moved through him like a bullet he'd never seen coming. 2 children, identical boys with skin like warm earth and eyes that struck him with horrible, beautiful recognition, played near the window. 7 years old, maybe. The same age as, no. Jinwoo's mind rejected the math even as his heart performed it with cruel precision. 8 years since she'd vanished from his bed, his life, his future. Left nothing but a cold pillow and questions that had turned him into something harder, colder, more dangerous than even his father had been. Amara. Her name left his mouth like a ghost he'd tried to bury. She turned slowly. So slowly he could count his heartbeats in the space between then and now. When her eyes met his, those dark, infinite eyes that had once looked at him like he was more than the monster everyone else saw, something cracked in his chest. Fear. He saw fear. Not of him. For him. Jinwoo. Her voice was exactly as he remembered. Warm honey over broken glass. You weren't supposed to be home. The children had gone quiet. They stood close to her now, instinct telling them something had shifted in the room's atmosphere. The boy on the left had Jinwoo's exact expression when calculating a threat. The one on the right had his jawline. His world tilted. Who let you in? It wasn't a question. His voice had dropped into the register that made grown men confess sins they hadn't committed yet. Your head of security. Marcus. She lifted her chin slightly, that defiant gesture he'd loved and hated in equal measure. I told him it was an emergency. Is it? Yes. One of the twins, the calculating one, stepped forward. Mommy, who is he? Mommy. The word landed like a body hitting concrete. Jinwoo looked at the child. Really looked. The boy had his nose, his build, his stance, weight slightly forward, ready to move, and those eyes. Dark brown with flecks of gold that caught light the same way Jinwoo's did, the same way his father's had, the same way every Kim for 3 generations had. Amara. His voice was barely above a whisper now, which made it more terrifying than any shout. What did you do? She stepped in front of the children, her body a shield he could break but never would. Even now. Even after everything. I did what I had to do, she said quietly. I protected them. From what? Her eyes held his. From your world. From your father. From the empire that devours everyone you love. The truth hit him harder than any betrayal. These were his sons, his. and she'd kept them from him for 7 years. Jinwoo had killed men for less. Had burned entire operations to ash for disrespect that paled in comparison to this. But all he could do was stand there, watching the woman he'd never stopped loving and the children he'd never known existed, and feel something in him break that no amount of power could ever repair. "Their names," he said finally. Amara's hand found the calculating twin's shoulder. Minho, then the other, Jaden. Minho and Jaden, Korean and American, like the two halves of a life he could have had. "How long have you been in the city?" 3 days. "Why are you here?" She hesitated. For the first time, her armor cracked. "Because your father found us." The floor dropped out from under him. His father. The man who'd built the Kim Empire on blood and broken bones. Who'd told Jinwoo that love was weakness and family was leverage. Who'd died 2 years ago, leaving Jinwoo to inherit a throne he'd never wanted and a darkness he couldn't escape. "My father's been dead for 2 years. His people aren't." Jinwoo understood immediately. The old guard, the ones who'd never accepted his leadership, who wanted him married to a Korean socialite, producing heirs for the dynasty, not this, not her, not children born from love instead of strategy. "They threatened you. They threatened them." Her voice broke on the last word. "I came back because running isn't working anymore, because hiding them is getting harder, because—" She stopped, swallowed. "Because they deserve to know their father before someone takes that choice away from us." The twins were watching him now with identical expressions of confusion and curiosity. They didn't know. Of course they didn't know. To them, he was just a stranger in an expensive suit with a gun under his jacket and blood on his legacy. Jinwoo had faced down rival crime lords, had negotiated with men who wore human teeth as jewelry, had stood in rooms where the wrong word meant death and smiled through it all. But looking at his sons, he had no idea what to do. "Mommy," Jaden whispered. "Why does he look like us?" Amara's eyes filled with tears she refused to let fall. She'd always been strong like that, stronger than him in ways that mattered. "Because," she said softly, still holding Jinwoo's gaze, "he's your father." The words hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot. Jinwoo's phone buzzed. His second in command. The situation from earlier, probably escalating. There were decisions to make, blood to spill. An empire that wouldn't run itself. But all he could see were 2 7-year-old boys with his face and her fire, and the woman who'd loved him enough to disappear rather than let his world destroy them. "We need to talk," he said finally. "Alone." Amara nodded. She turned to the twins. "Go play in your room, okay? I'll be right there." They hesitated, but obeyed. The door closed behind them with a soft click that sounded like a verdict, and then they were alone. Just Jinwoo and Amara, and 8 years of silence between them. "Tell me everything," he said. So she did. She told him about the pregnancy test. 2 pink lines that appeared 3 weeks after she'd left his bed for the last time, believing the goodbye had been mutual. A strategic retreat before his father orchestrated something permanent. "Your father came to my apartment," Amara said, standing by the window where his sons, their sons, had been playing moments before. "This was before you took over. Before everything changed. He sat in my kitchen and told me exactly what would happen if I stayed." Jinwoo's jaw tightened. He knew his father's methods. Precise, surgical, brutal. "He showed me photos," she continued. Her voice steady now, like she'd practiced this confession in mirrors for years. "My mother in Lagos, my cousin in Atlanta, my best friend from college. He had addresses, daily routines, vulnerabilities mapped out like a military operation. He threatened them. He promised them." She turned to face him. Said if I disappeared quietly, they'd live. Said if I told you about the pregnancy, if I fought him, if I tried to stay, they'd die. All of them. And I'd watch. Jinwoo stood perfectly still. The same stillness that preceded violence in the boardrooms and back rooms where he conducted business. But this wasn't business. This was the woman he'd loved being terrorized by his own blood. "You should have told me. You were his son." Her eyes flashed. "You did everything he asked. Took over operations he gave you, married the women he chose for you to date. You were becoming him, Jinwoo. Every day a little more. I never." "You did." She cut him off gently, firmly. "I watched it happen. Watched the man I loved disappear inside the heir your father was creating. And when I found out I was pregnant, I knew. I knew if he'd threatened strangers to control you, what would he do to his own grandchildren? The truth of it sat between them like a third presence. His father would have used them. Would have turned Jinwoo's sons into leverage, into weapons, into the next generation of darkness. Would have broken Amara slowly, publicly, to teach Jinwoo that love was a weakness to be exterminated. When did you know it was twins? 3 months in. I was in Chicago by then, working at a community center, teaching art to kids who reminded me of... She stopped. I thought about calling you every day. Thought about it when Minho took his first steps. When Jaden said his first word. Every birthday, every skinned knee, every moment they looked at me with your eyes and asked about their father. What did you tell them? That you were far away. That you loved them but couldn't be with us. That someday, maybe... Her voice cracked. I never lied to them, Jinwoo. I just didn't tell them the whole truth. He moved to the window. The city sprawled below them. His city, in all the ways that mattered. Every building with a Kim holding, every street with their influence bleeding through it like ink in water. You said my father's people found you. 2 weeks ago, I was picking the boys up from school and there was a man waiting. Korean. Expensive suit. He didn't say anything, just handed me a phone. Who was on it? Park Il-sung. Jinwoo's blood went cold. Park Il-sung. His father's oldest friend and Jinwoo's most persistent opponent. The man who'd argued for a traditional succession. Who'd wanted Jinwoo married to the Choi family daughter, binding 2 criminal dynasties in blood and profit. Who'd disappeared into semi-retirement after Jinwoo took control, but clearly hadn't stopped moving pieces on the board. What did he want? The boys. He said your father had made arrangements before he died. That there were protocols for illegitimate heirs. That Minho and Jaden were Kim blood and belonged to the family. She wrapped her arms around herself. He gave me 2 options. Bring them to Seoul for proper raising, or watch them be taken. He threatened to kidnap my children. He didn't threaten. He promised. Amara met his eyes. That's when I knew running wouldn't work anymore. That the only person who could protect them was you. Jinwoo's phone buzzed again. He ignored it. You came back to ask me to fight Park. I came back to ask you to choose. Her voice softened. I know what you've become. I know the empire you run. But I also know, I have to believe, that somewhere inside you is still the man who used to read me poetry in Korean at 3 a.m. Who cried when his mother died. Who told me once that all he wanted was to be free. That man died the day you left. Did he? She stepped closer. Or did he just learn to hide better? They were inches apart now. Close enough that he could smell her perfume, still the same. Jasmine and something warm he'd never been able to name. Close enough to see the faint scar above her eyebrow from the night they'd gotten drunk and tried to cook, and she'd cut herself laughing too hard at his terrible technique. Close enough to remember what it felt like to be human. I can protect you, he said quietly. All of you. But you need to understand what that means. Tell me. It means you stay here, under my security, under my name. His hand moved to her face before he could stop it, thumb tracing her cheekbone. It means everyone will know about the twins, about us. It means Park and every other old guard loyalist will see you as a threat to their version of the Kim legacy. And it means I'll have to go to war. Real war. The kind that ends with bodies in the river and families destroyed. The kind my father specialized in. He leaned closer, voice dropping to barely a whisper. Can you live with that? Knowing men will die so your children can be safe? She didn't flinch. Didn't look away. I watched you become a monster to survive your father, she said, but I also watched you feed stray cats in alleys when you thought no one was looking. I know what you are, Jinwoo. All of it, light and dark, and I'm not asking you to be something you're not. What are you asking? I'm asking you to be their father. Everything else. She placed her hand over his heart. We'll figure out together. The door opened. Both twins stood there. Minho holding a tablet, Jaden gripping a small backpack. Mommy, Minho said, our room has a TV bigger than our apartment. Jinwoo couldn't help it. He almost smiled. Jaden was staring at him with open curiosity now. Are you really our dad? The question hung in the air. Jinwoo lowered himself to one knee, bringing himself to eye level with his sons. This close, the resemblance was undeniable. They had Amara's warm brown skin, her smile, her grace. But their eyes were all Kim. Yes, he said simply. I am. Where were you? The honest question from an honest child. Far away, Jinwoo said, echoing what Amara had told them. But I'm here now. Are you going to stay? He looked up at Amara. She was watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Hope mixed with fear, mixed with something that looked dangerously like the love they'd once shared. Yes, he said, still holding her gaze. I'm going to stay. Minho stepped forward, tactical mind already working. Mom says bad people are looking for us. They are. Can you stop them? Jinwoo had been asked many questions in his life. By prosecutors, by rivals, by men begging for mercy they wouldn't receive. But this question from his 7-year-old son carried more weight than any interrogation. Yes, he said. I can stop them. How? Amara moved to intervene, but Jinwoo raised a hand gently. Because I'm scarier than they are, he said honestly. And because you're mine. And I protect what's mine. Jaden processed this, then nodded like it made perfect sense. Okay. Just like that. Okay. As if trust could be that simple. Jinwoo's phone rang. Not buzzed. Rang. The tone he'd assigned to only one person, his second in command. The man who only called when situations had evolved past text. I have to take this, he said, standing. He looked at Amara. We're not done talking. I know. He stepped into his office, closed the door, and answered. Talk. We have a problem. Park Il-sung just called an emergency council meeting. Tomorrow night. He's demanding you address questions about succession and legitimacy. A pause. He knows about the woman and the kids, boss. He's moving faster than we thought. Jinwoo looked through the glass wall separating his office from the living room. Watched Amara help Jaden with his backpack. Watched Minho explore the penthouse with careful, intelligent eyes. Watched his family exist in his space for the first time ever. Let him move, Jinwoo said quietly. We'll be ready. He hung up. Tomorrow, the war would begin. Tonight, he'd learn how to be a father. Dinner was strange. Jinwoo sat at the head of a table that had never held more than business associates and occasional conquests, watching his sons eat pasta with the intensity of children who'd been promised dessert. Amara sat to his right, close enough to touch but maintaining careful distance. You don't cook, she said, gesturing at the takeout containers from the Italian place 3 blocks down. You remembered. I remember everything. The words sat between them like a confession. Minho was studying him openly now, the way Jinwoo studied opponents across negotiation tables. Mom says you're important. Are you famous? In some circles. What do you do? Amara tensed. Jinwoo felt it more than saw it. I run a business, he said carefully. Import and export, real estate, investments. That sounds boring. Despite everything, Jinwoo almost laughed. Sometimes it is. Do you have a wife? Jaden asked, completely innocent. No. Why not? Because the only woman I ever wanted left me 8 years ago, and I never recovered. Haven't found the right person, he said instead. Jaden considered this with 7-year-old wisdom. Mom doesn't have a boyfriend either. Maybe you guys should date. Amara choked on her water. Jinwoo handed her a napkin, their fingers brushing. Electricity shot through the contact, immediate and undeniable. It's more complicated than that, Amara managed. Why? Because adults make everything complicated, Jinwoo said, earning a small smile from her. After dinner, Amara got the twins ready for bed in the guest suite Jinwoo had converted to a children's room with 3 phone calls and more money than most people earned in a year. He stood in the doorway, watching her tuck them in with practiced ease. Mom, Minho said sleepily, is this our home now? For a while, she said softly. We'll see. I like it here. It's safe. Safe. The word coming from his son's mouth cracked something in Jinwoo's chest. When she finally emerged, pulling the door closed, they stood in the hallway together. The penthouse was silent except for the city's ambient hum filtering through reinforced glass. Thank you, she said quietly. For dinner, for the room, for not what? Not being angry. I am angry. He stepped closer. Furious, but not at you. Then who? My father, Park. Myself for not being someone you could trust 8 years ago. His hand found her waist, pulling her close enough to feel her heartbeat. Everyone who made you believe running was your only option. Jinwoo, I would have chosen you, he said, voice raw. If you'd told me, if you'd given me the chance, I would have burned the whole empire down before letting my father hurt you. You say that now? I mean it now. His forehead rested against hers. I meant it then, too. You just didn't know. She was crying silently, tears tracking down her face in the dim hallway light. I was 20, pregnant, terrified. Your father sat in my kitchen and described in detail how each person I loved would die. I made the only choice I could. I know. He wiped her tears with his thumbs. And I hate that you had to make it alone. They stood like that for a long moment. Two people who'd loved each other in a different life, holding each other in the wreckage of the one they'd ended up in. I should go to bed, Amara whispered, but didn't move. You should. Your room is. Master suite. End of the hall. She pulled back slightly, just enough to meet his eyes. Is there someone? Do you? No. The word came out harder than he intended. There's been no one. Not really. Not since you. Jinwoo, 8 years is a long time to... I tried. His hand cupped her face. God, I tried. Dated women my father approved of. Women who understood the life. Women who didn't ask questions or want more than I could give. But every time I'd see you, in the curve of a smile, the way someone laughed, the empty space in my bed. He leaned closer. You ruined me, Amara. Completely. That's not fair. None of this is fair. She kissed him, or he kissed her. Later, neither could say who moved first. Just that suddenly they were pressed against the hallway wall, 8 years of longing and regret and desperate love pouring into a kiss that tasted like salt and homecoming. His hands remembered her body, the curve of her hip, the small of her back, the way she made a soft sound when he kissed the spot just below her ear. Her hands remembered him too, the tension in his shoulders, the scar on his ribs from a knife fight when he was 19, the way he shuddered when she touched him like he was human instead of monstrous. We can't, she gasped when they broke apart. I know. The boys are right there. I know. This is insane. I know. But neither of them moved apart. Tomorrow Park makes his play, Jinwoo said against her neck. Tomorrow I have to stand in front of the council and defend my right to lead. Tomorrow the war starts. I know. I need you to stay here, with Marcus and the security team. Don't leave the building. Don't trust anyone who isn't me. For how long? However long it takes. She pulled back to look at him. What are you going to do? What I'm good at. His smile was sharp, dangerous. The smile that made men sign confessions and rivals back down. I'm going to remind everyone why I'm in charge. Jinwoo. Park thinks the old guard will back him because I don't have legitimate heirs, because I'm not married to approved bloodlines, because I'm half American in ways that matter to them. He kissed her forehead. Tomorrow I'm going to introduce them to my sons. Let them see Kim blood in Minho and Jaden's eyes. Let them know that hurting you means going through me. That makes us targets. You've been targets since my father found out about the pregnancy. At least now you have me. She searched his face. Are we worth it? Worth going to war? You're worth burning the whole world down. He said it simply, like fact, like gravity. Ask me again tomorrow and my answer will be the same. Ask me in 10 years, 20, however long I have left. You're insane. Probably. He kissed her again, softer this time, sweeter, like a promise. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be complicated. She nodded, started toward the guest suite, then turned back. Jinwoo? Yeah? I never stopped loving you. I just want you to know that. Through all of it, the running, the hiding, the years, I never stopped. The confession hit him like a physical blow. I know, he said quietly. I felt it. Every day. Like a ghost in my house. She smiled, sad and beautiful and haunted by the same ghosts. Then disappeared into the guest suite, closing the door between them. Jinwoo stood alone in the hallway for a long time. Then he went to his office and started making calls. By dawn, half the criminal underworld would know. Kim Jinwoo had sons, had family, had something he'd go to war to protect. Let them come. He'd be ready. The council room hadn't changed in 2 years. Same dark wood table, same leather chairs arranged like a tribunal, same portraits of dead patriarchs lining the walls, men who'd built empires on blood and called it legacy. Jinwoo entered alone. 12 men sat waiting, old guard, his father's generation. Men who remembered when the Kim family answered to Seoul, when tradition meant everything, when half American sons were mistakes to be corrected, not heirs to be followed. Park Il-sung sat at the far end, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, smiling like a man holding all the cards. "Jin-woo," Park said warmly. Too warmly. "Thank you for joining us. You called an emergency meeting." Jin-woo took his seat at the head of the table, his father's seat, earned through 2 years of careful consolidation and strategic ruthlessness. "I'm here. We have concerns." "You always do." Park's smile thinned. "Concerns about your personal situation. Rumors suggest you have children. Illegitimate children. With a woman outside our approved networks." The room went silent. Jin-woo met each man's eyes in turn, saw calculation, judgment, fear masked as tradition. "Not rumors," he said calmly. "Facts. I have twin sons, 7 years old. Their mother is the woman I should have married 8 years ago before my father interfered." The room erupted, voices overlapping, outrage and opportunity mixing in equal measure. Park raised a hand. Silence fell like a blade. "You understand," Park said carefully, "that this complicates succession. These children, they're not Korean. Not fully. Their mother has no family connections, no strategic value. They represent a dilution of Kim blood. They represent my blood." Jinwoo's voice dropped into the register that made grown men reconsider their life choices. "Kim blood. The same blood in every portrait on these walls. You want to question their legitimacy? Question mine while you're at it." "We're not questioning you," another council member interjected. "We're questioning the wisdom of recognizing them, of bringing them into the family publicly. It sends a message of weakness, of compromised judgment." "What message does it send?" Jinwoo asked quietly. "If I abandon my own children?" "It sends the message that the empire comes first, as it always has, as it must." Park leaned forward. "Your father understood this. He made hard choices for the good of the family, married the right woman, produced the right heir, built alliances through strategic relationships." "My father," Jinwoo said, "died alone in a hospital bed, surrounded by associates and business partners but no one who actually loved him. Is that the legacy you want me to follow? Your father built an empire, and I inherited it, expanded it, doubled our holdings in 2 years while keeping federal investigations at bay and maintaining peace with the Russians, the Italians, and the Colombians. I've done everything you asked and more." He stood slowly. "But I won't sacrifice my sons for your approval." "Then you're choosing them over us." "I'm choosing them over outdated traditions that serve no one but old men afraid of change." Park stood as well. The room held its breath. "There will be consequences," Park said softly. "The old families won't accept this. Your leadership will be challenged, formally. Let them challenge." Jinwoo buttoned his jacket. "I'll be ready." He walked out. Behind him, he heard Park's voice. "This isn't over." Jinwoo didn't turn around. "It never is." Marcus was waiting by the car, expression carefully neutral. "How bad?" "War," Jinwoo said simply. "Probably by the end of the week." "The woman and kids?" "No one touches them. I don't care what it costs. No one." Marcus nodded. He'd been with Jinwoo since the beginning, knew when orders were absolute. The drive back to the penthouse took 20 minutes through morning traffic. Jinwoo spent it making calls, moving pieces, preparing for the chaos Park would unleash. By the time the elevator opened to his floor, he'd secured 3 key allies, liquidated 2 questionable assets, and arranged for additional security. He found Amara in the kitchen, teaching the twins to make pancakes. The sight stopped him cold. Domestic. Normal. Everything his life had never been. "Dad!" Jaden spotted him first, flour on his nose. "Look, we're cooking." "Dad." The word hit different every time. "I see that," Jinwoo said, loosening his tie. "Any casualties?" "Just the first batch," Minho reported seriously. They were structurally unsound. Amara caught Jinwoo's eye over their heads. Mouthed, "How did it go?" He shook his head slightly. Later. "Can you flip pancakes?" Jaden asked. "I've never tried." "Mom says you can't cook." "Your mother is correct about most things." Amara smiled despite the tension. "Come here, I'll teach you." So he did. Stood at the stove in his $3,000 suit, learning to flip pancakes while his sons offered commentary, and his former lover guided his hands with touches that felt like coming home. "See?" she murmured, close enough that only he could hear. "Not so scary." This is terrifying, he admitted. I've negotiated with arms dealers. This is worse. She laughed. The sound filled the kitchen like light. For exactly 17 minutes, Jinwoo forgot about Park. About the council. About the war brewing in the shadows of his empire. For 17 minutes, he was just a man making breakfast with his family. Then his phone rang. Marcus. Emergency tone. Jinwoo stepped away, answered. Talk. Park just moved. He's calling a formal challenge. Tomorrow night, winner takes operational control of the family. On what grounds? Incompetence, compromised judgment, failure to maintain traditional values. A pause. He's got 4 council members backing him publicly, maybe more privately. Jinwoo looked back at the kitchen. At Amara and the twins, still laughing over burnt pancakes. Tell Park I accept, he said quietly. Tomorrow night. I'll be there. He hung up. Amara was watching him from the doorway now, reading his expression the way she always had. It's happening, she said. Not a question. Tomorrow. What do you need from me? Stay here. Keep them safe. Let me handle this. She crossed to him, took his face in both hands. I didn't come back so you could fight this alone. You came back so I could protect you. I came back, she corrected, so we could protect each other. There's a difference. Behind them, Minho called out, Mom! Jaden's eating all the chocolate chips. Am not. R2. Amara smiled sadly. They don't know what's coming, do they? No, and they won't. Jinwoo kissed her forehead. Whatever happens tomorrow, they stay innocent as long as possible. And after tomorrow? After tomorrow, either I'm still in charge and we figure out how to be a family in the middle of all this chaos. He paused. Or Park wins, and you run. Far. Fast. New identities, new country, whatever it takes. I'm not running again. Amara. No. Her voice was steel wrapped in silk. I ran once. Spent 8 years looking over my shoulder, teaching our sons to be ready to disappear at any moment. I'm done running. We stand together, or not at all. He wanted to argue, wanted to command her to safety the way he commanded everything else in his life. But this was Amara, and she'd never taken orders from anyone. Together then, he said finally. Together. They sealed it with a kiss that tasted like promises and pancakes, and the kind of desperate hope that only exists in the space between love and war. Tomorrow would bring blood. Tonight, they'd steal whatever piece they could find. The challenge took place in a warehouse Park owned in Red Hook. Neutral ground, no weapons, witnesses from every major family in the city. The kind of old-world spectacle the council loved. Theater disguised as tradition, violence wrapped in ceremony. Jinwoo arrived at midnight with Marcus and 2 soldiers. Left his gun in the car, kept his rage close. The warehouse was packed, 50 men, maybe more, Russians. Italians, Irish, the Colombians. Everyone with skin in the game, everyone waiting to see if the Kim Empire would fracture tonight. Park stood in the center, surrounded by his supporters. He'd dressed for the occasion, traditional Korean suit, immaculate and symbolic. Making a point about heritage, about roots, about what Jinwoo supposedly lacked. Jinwoo, Park said as the crowd parted, thank you for coming. You issued a formal challenge. I'm here to answer it. Then let's begin. Park gestured to the assembled crowd. We stand before our brothers tonight to settle a question of leadership, of vision, of what the Kim family should be. Jinwoo said nothing. Let Park talk. Men who talked too much revealed their strategy. For 2 years, Jinwoo has led us, Park continued, and in many ways he's been effective, profitable, strategic. But profit isn't everything. There are principles, values, traditions that bind us to our past and guide our future. Get to the point, Jinwoo said flatly. The point is simple. You've compromised the family, brought in a woman with no connections, no value, acknowledged children of mixed blood, prioritized personal sentiment over strategic alliance. Park's voice hardened. Your father would be ashamed, the crowd murmured, waiting for Jinwoo's response. He stepped forward into the light. My father, Jinwoo said quietly, was a brilliant man, ruthless, strategic. He built an empire from nothing and taught me everything I know about power. He paused. He was also alone, bitter, surrounded by people who feared him but never loved him. He died believing that strength meant isolation, that family was a liability. Family is our foundation, Park countered. Then why are you trying to make me abandon my sons? Silence. You talk about tradition, Jinwoo continued, voice carrying through the warehouse, about blood, about what the Kim family should be. But tradition is just another word for fear. Fear of change, fear of evolution. Fear that maybe, just maybe, there's a better way. There is no better way than what's worked for generations. Then explain why we're richer now than we were under my father, why our territory has expanded, why the feds haven't touched us in 2 years while they've taken down 3 other families. Jinwoo met Park's eyes. Tradition didn't do that. Strategy did. Adaptation did. Knowing when to hold tradition and when to let it evolve. And your half-black children? Park said the words like a slur. How do they fit into Kim tradition? The warehouse went deathly quiet. Jinwoo felt rage flood his system, the kind of rage that ended in bodies. But he kept his voice level, calm, dangerous. My sons, he said softly, carry Kim blood. They have my eyes, my intelligence, my tactical mind. They're 7 years old and already think like strategists. He stepped closer to Park. Their mother is brilliant, strong, loyal. She protected them for 8 years against threats from my father's people, raised them alone while I built this empire. And you think she has no value? She's not Korean. Neither am I. Not fully. My mother was American. Does that make me less Kim? Jinwoo let the question hang. Half of you in this room have mixed heritage. Russian Italian. Irish Chinese. We're not a pure bloodline and we never have been. We're survivors who adapted and thrived. Park's jaw tightened. This isn't about race. Yes, it is. Jinwoo cut him off. It's about you and the old guard being afraid that the world is changing. That pure Korean networks don't matter as much as they used to. That maybe, God forbid, love and loyalty might actually be better foundations than arranged marriages and strategic alliances. Love is weakness. Love is what's kept me alive. Jinwoo's voice dropped. Kept me sane. Kept me human enough to lead instead of just destroy. You want to challenge my leadership? Fine, but don't hide behind tradition. Be honest. You're afraid. Afraid I'm building something you can't control. Something that doesn't need your approval. Park moved fast. Threw a punch that Jinwoo barely blocked. They grappled. Years of training and violence pouring into a fight that was part ceremony, part genuine rage. The crowd roared. Jinwoo took a hit to the ribs. Returned one to Park's jaw. They circled, breathing hard, looking for openings. Your father taught you well, Park gasped. He taught me how to survive, Jinwoo said. Amara taught me how to live. That's the difference. He moved, fast, efficient, the way Marcus had trained him. Got Park in a submission hold that ended with the older man on his knees, Jinwoo's arm around his throat. Not choking, just controlling. Yield, Jinwoo said quietly. Or I finish this. Park struggled, pride warring with survival instinct. Yield, Jinwoo repeated. I yield, Park choked out. Jinwoo released him, stepped back, breathing hard but standing tall. The warehouse erupted in mixed reactions, some cheering, some angry, all of them understanding what just happened. Jinwoo had won. He looked around at the assembled crowd. Anyone else want to challenge me? Question my leadership, my family? Silence. Good. Then we're done here. He turned to leave. Park's voice stopped him. This doesn't change anything. The old families won't accept her. Won't accept them. Jinwoo looked back. Then the old families can adapt or die. I don't care which. He walked out into the night. Marcus was waiting by the car, holding out his phone. Amara, he said simply. Jinwoo answered. I'm okay. It's over. Her exhale of relief was audible. Did you win? Yeah. Are you hurt? Nothing serious. Come home. Home. When had the penthouse become home? When she'd walked back into it. When his sons had laughed in the kitchen. When family had become real instead of theoretical. On my way, he said. The drive took 15 minutes. He spent it processing. Park had yielded, but the war wasn't over. It never would be. There would always be someone questioning his choices, his leadership, his right to define what family meant. But for the first time in 8 years, Jinwoo didn't care. Let them question. Let them challenge. Let them bring whatever war they wanted. He had something worth fighting for now. The elevator opened to his floor. Amara was waiting, still dressed, eyes searching his face for damage. You're bleeding, she said, touching his split lip. I've had worse. That's not comforting. He pulled her close. It's over. Park yielded. The challenge is done. And tomorrow? Tomorrow we figure out how to build something new. A family that doesn't look like anyone else's. A legacy that isn't built on fear. He kissed her. Together. She kissed him back. Deeper. More urgent. 8 years of longing and fear and desperate love pouring into the kind of kiss that felt like homecoming and promise and new beginning all at once. The boys, he murmured against her lips. Asleep. Your room or mine? Ours, she said, and led him home. Morning came soft through penthouse windows. Jinwoo woke to unfamiliar warmth. Amara curled against him, her breathing even, her hand resting over his heart. For a moment, he just existed in the space between sleep and waking, letting himself believe this could be permanent. Then his phone buzzed. Marcus. Park's withdrawing his challenge publicly. Council meeting at noon. They want to formalize your position. Jinwoo typed back, I'll be there. Amara stirred. What time is it? Early. Go back to sleep. Are you leaving? Meeting at noon. Council wants to make things official. She propped herself up on one elbow, sheet falling to her waist. Official how? Recognition of my leadership. Probably some ceremony about continuity and tradition. He traced patterns on her shoulder. They'll want to meet you, the twins. Make it formal. I'm not sure I'm ready for that. You faced down my father 8 years ago. You can handle a room full of old men. She smiled slightly. Your father was scarier. Debatable. They lay in comfortable silence for a moment. Outside, the city woke up. Traffic sounds, distant sirens, the ambient noise of millions of people starting their day with no idea that empires shifted in penthouses above them. What happens now? Amara asked quietly. After the ceremony. After everything becomes official. We figure it out, day by day. That's not a plan. It's the only plan I have. He turned to face her fully. I can give you safety, resources, a life where our sons never have to run again. But I can't give you normal. Can't promise PTA meetings and baseball games without bodyguards. Can't pretend I'm not what I am. I'm not asking you to pretend. What are you asking? She considered the question. I'm asking you to try. To be their father first, the boss second. To let them see the man I fell in love with, not just the monster your father created. And if those two things are the same person now, they're not. She touched his face. Last night, making pancakes with them, that was you. Real you. The you that still exists under all the armor. That version of me gets people killed. That version of you keeps people alive. She kissed him softly. There's room for both. You just have to stop thinking of them as separate. Before he could respond, small footsteps sounded in the hallway. A knock on the door. Mom? Minho's voice. Are you awake? Amara glanced at Jinwoo, who was already pulling on pants. She wrapped the sheet around herself. Come in, baby. Both twins entered, still in pajamas, eyes widening at the sight of their parents together. Did you have a sleepover? Jaden asked innocently. Something like that, Jinwoo said, fighting a smile. Minho's tactical mind was working. Are you guys back together? We're figuring it out, Amara said honestly. Does that mean we get to stay here? Jinwoo knelt down to their level. Would you want to? This place is cool, Jaden said enthusiastically. And Marcus showed us the security room. There's like 50 cameras. Marcus was supposed to show you the game room. We saw that too, but the security stuff was cooler. Of course it was. They were his sons. If you stay here, Jinwoo said carefully, things will be different. There will be people who want to meet you. Rules about safety, bodyguards when you go to school. It won't be like before. Minho processed this. Because you're important, and that makes us important? Something like that. Will the bad people still try to hurt us? Jinwoo met his son's eyes, so much like his own. Not if I have anything to say about it. But that's why we need security. Why things will be different. To keep you safe. Okay, Minho said simply. Then, can we have pancakes again? Just like that. Okay. Children's ability to adapt never ceased to amaze him. Yeah, Jinwoo said. We can have pancakes again. The council meeting went exactly as expected. Formal recognition of Jinwoo's leadership. Public acknowledgement of Park's withdrawal. A carefully worded statement about respecting modern family structures while honoring traditional values. that meant absolutely nothing and everything simultaneously. They wanted to meet Amara and the twins afterward. A reception, photographs, the illusion of unity. Jin-woo brought them anyway. Watched his sons shake hands with men who'd threatened their existence a week ago. Watched Amara navigate conversations with women who judged her for everything she represented. Watched his family exist in his world for the first time. It wasn't perfect, wasn't easy, but it was real. "Your sons are impressive," one council member said, watching Minho ask detailed questions about building security. "They're their mother's children," Jin-woo replied. "And yours." That too. Later, after the reception, after the politics and posturing, Jin-woo found himself on the penthouse balcony with Amara. The twins were inside with Marcus, learning to play chess. "Think they'll be okay?" she asked, leaning against the railing. "They're Kim. They'll be better than okay." "That's what I'm afraid of." He understood. The empire was seductive. Power was addictive. He'd watched it corrupt good men, turn innocence into calculation, love into strategy. "We'll do better," he said. "Teach them that power is a tool, not an identity. That family comes first, that love isn't weakness. You sound like you believe it." "I'm starting to." She turned to face him. "What changed?" "You came back, reminded me who I was before I became this." He gestured vaguely at the city below them. "Before the empire consumed everything." "And who were you?" "Someone who read poetry at 3 a.m., who cried when his mother died, who believed for exactly 2 years that love might actually be stronger than fear." He pulled her close. "Someone who loved you more than breathing." "Loved? Loves." He corrected it immediately. Present tense. "Always has been." She kissed him as the sun set over their city, his empire, her refuge, their future uncertain but finally, impossibly shared. Behind them, through the glass, they could hear Minho declaring checkmate while Jaden argued about the rules. Marcus's patient explanation. The sound of family existing in a space that had only known violence and isolation. "Think we can do this?" Amara whispered. "Build a family in the middle of a criminal empire? Raise children who know their father runs the underworld, but still believe in goodness? Create something that doesn't look like anyone else's normal?" "Yeah, that." Jin-woo looked at the city spread below them. At the empire he'd inherited and expanded and ruled with calculated ruthlessness. At the legacy his father had built on blood and fear. Then he looked at Amara, at his sons, at the impossible, fragile, beautiful thing they were trying to build together. "Yeah," he said finally. "I think we can." It wouldn't be easy. The old guard would keep pushing. New threats would emerge. The empire would demand its price. But for the first time in 8 years, Jin-woo had something worth protecting that wasn't just power. He had family. Real family. The kind built on love instead of strategy. On choice instead of obligation. On hope instead of fear. And he would burn the whole world down before letting anyone take it from him again. "Come on," he said, taking Amara's hand. "Let's go inside. I think Jaden's about to flip the chessboard." She laughed. "How do you know?" "Because that's what I used to do when I was losing." "You're terrible." "I know." He kissed her temple. "But I'm yours. Always have been." They walked inside together, into the noise and chaos and beautiful mess of family, into their new empire, one built not on blood and fear, but on love and second chances, into whatever came next, together. The end.